Evening, everybody. And of course, I fucking tried to check everything that was right, and of course, one thing's wrong. Your name is not Pixie. Your name is Ron. So, welcome everybody back tonight to the pigsty. Ignoring the name that was on the screen for a little second, I always forget to do that and change it from the last fucking interview. But welcome tonight. We have got, now see if I can get this right, Reverend Ron's Revelation Room. Right, lots of R's.
I'm not a reverend, by the way.
Yeah. It's the reason I met John, how I met Ron was Ron was reaching out on Twitter. I think it was someone retweeted it or whatever, popped up on my feed. He's got a small wee channel now, and just looking for honest conversations. So I thought we'd reach out, we'd see what the crack is, and as per usual, some rabbit hole has brought the person here. So Ron, would you like to introduce yourself? By the way, links for Ron's Twitter and his channel are in the description. So if you
Ron, I'm a Christian. Right. But I'm also work as a carpenter, or at least I work. And I like to
Well, I haven't watched, as I say, man, small channel. There's only a couple of videos on it. I've watched 2 or 3 myself, and you're. Did I have you muted? Of course, I have you muted. Thank you, Krabby.
Okay. That was a very good one.
Always fucking forget.
It wasn't a good one, anyways.
Yeah, I always forget to unmute me or unmute the guest. It's really something I should set up as an automatic. Ron, so he's admitted to being a Christian. That's he says he'll admit to being a Christian.
Yeah.
If you want to just repeat that last wee bit, Ron, if you can. Sorry about that.
Well, I like to have conversations. I love conversation, even with people I disagree with. I'm a carpenter, work with carpenters maybe. I don't know if I'm really one, but and I love studying and discussion about philosophy, history, and religion, of course. And I would call myself a humanist, a libertarian-leaning type person.
From one of the videos, I heard that you're, I don't know what would be the term, born-again Christian, late convert. You had Christianity somewhat in your life, and
yeah,
would you like to elaborate on that a wee bit more, just to give some context to your background?
Yeah, I would call myself an adult convert. I was never really a Christian. I went to church until I was like 11 or 12, off and on.
Yeah.
Kind of randomly, not even necessarily just Easter or Christmas, but we just kind of went to churches for a little while, and then around 11 or 12 we quit going, and I never really got into any of it. I couldn't even recall anything I experienced at any of the churches.
The conversion sort of later in your life, what you said was sort of leaning towards the morality of it.
Yeah.
It was the morality.
That had a big part in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of digging, man. Do you want to go a wee bit further into that and sort of explain, because from what I got, the morality was a big part. The morality argument, was a big part of how you convert. If I'm wrong, correct me, or elaborate on that if you could a wee bit, please.
Well, I did want to talk about that on here, but it wasn't the moral argument, as you would probably recognize it. It had a lot to do with convincing me, but it wasn't that someone argued me into it.
Oh yeah, no.
I would say I was a humanist. Still am. I mean, basically, but I got to digging at my own belief. I had a crisis of faith. It's like, well, why am I a humanist? Why be a humanist? By what foundation do I lay my belief on? And I had a bit of a crisis of faith because I couldn't find a foundation for it. I mean, I'm saying before I'm a Christian, I'm calling that faith.
Yeah, with the Christian worldview, you know, your morals come from God, sort of idea of a thing. Like, and that was convincing for you, or?
Well, what was convincing is I couldn't find in logic or philosophy a solid, unviolatable foundation for my humanist ideal of all people have equal dignity, you know, and are deserving of equal dignity, or have natural rights, or rights that should be unviolated, and to universalize that, universal human rights. That's I couldn't find a solid foundation for that other than, I mean, one that you can't violate. And then, but whenever on other reasons, when I was started finally reading the Bible for myself, I felt like I found the foundation that I was looking for on that.
The philosophy and the logic, and then the idea of morals coming from God, the idea of it is all consciousness sort of thing, you know. Morals, I could lean on a big chunk of evolution from morals, you know. We're all humans, we all look after each other, we're all social species and stuff like that. There's a lot of studies that have been done to, you know, to show that. Was that something that you looked into?
Well, I don't know so much if I was aware or worked on the idea that morals came from God, not so much as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, I can see how evolutionarily or socially we would come up with rules for behavior, and especially in a tribe, we can come up in agreement of you don't mess me over and I don't mess you over, and this thing works out. But what I don't see is how it expands big enough that way. I can see that working in the small setting, but I don't see it scaling up.
Well, it's just a simple matter of that, you know, where you care for your neighbour, you care for the person whom you've never met before. Yeah. You know, it can physically and evolutionary, and you know, with the way our brain works, I think the study was all. How's that now, Krabby? Get a kiss. Perfect. That should be fine now in the audio. I think it's up to about 100, 150 people or so that we can remember the faces of and remember the names of, you know?
Yeah.
With the way social media and things is going like that now, I'm sure our kids and stuff will be able to remember more. Jesus, they see 150 people on the internet every day, you know, and remember their names from chat rooms and stuff. So I'm seeing that grow, you know, just people learning more of it. And I would just see it as an extension of that, you know. If I have a mindset of, you know, there's very few people that I would dislike. You know, there's people like MathPig and things like that there. And as we discussed earlier, asshole 104 is the code word we used for that guy here. But, you know, there's people like that if I know of that sort of personality, I will avoid it. I have an opinion of them sort of people. But that also goes tongue-in-cheek with, you know, if I know someone and they come across as a decent person, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to accept them. And it's more of a trust thing as well, you know, from evolutionary and social creature. Just that person, I'm going to give that person a chance. I'm not going to just stab him because I don't know him.
Yeah. And I know the the 150 person idea that you only can truly conceive of a limited number of people.
Again, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, you get the point. Yeah.
I mean, we can't conceive of, you know, the idea of, well, we should love everyone in the whole world, and it's like we can't conceive of everyone in the whole world. Right?
No, but you don't need to know.
But we can abstract that out. I'm not saying we can't do that. I've always argued, and I still believe that the function of like the family should be that you learn how, or you know, a tribe, if you want to call it that. The function of the family is you should learn how to socialize with people, and then you can take that and you can abstract it out to everyone. I mean, you can say, well, I treat my family this way if it's well, you know, if it's not dysfunctional, and I can abstract that out, and I agree with that. It's not so much that gives me pause. It's the enforcement of it not, well, let's see, not even direct, not like a direct enforcement, but
Yeah.
the how would you put that?
Social pressures.
Well, it's we can abstract a belief, right? Where we can think we believe a belief, but whenever the chips are down, so to speak, what enforces our beliefs on our behavior? Whenever it's not convenient, how do we continue to do it? Or whenever it's even a matter of survival, does that moral that we believe still continue? And that's where I think.
So if the chips were down and the world went to shit, would we all start killing people in the shopping centre? Is that what you're saying? Like,
sort of like that, yeah. It's like if you go back and there's competing, way back, like Stone Age or whatever, and there's competing tribes. Mm-hmm. One tribe knows to be loyal within their tribe, and the other tribe knows to be loyal within their tribe. But how does those two tribes compete for resources and not murder each other?
Combination. Tribes grow. Olden days between different warlords and things like that, it was like, here, I've got a daughter and you've got a prince, let's marry. And it's an increasing of that tribe. It's a growing of that, with an extension going on to then cities from villages and things like that. You can go into wee village pubs sometimes and everybody looks at you because it's like, who's this strange guy? We know every 40 people in this pub. Who's this stranger? Where you could walk into this pub in a city and only the bartender might recognise you because he's the only one that's there all the time. All the actual clientele chop and change. But it's still an extension of that tribe. Like, them people who go in and out may not know that other person, but they'll still say, if it's in New York, I'm a New Yorker. They all have that connection.
But then you take the super powerful tribe, nation over here. What imperative do they have not to go and murder the weaker ones?
You're saying what's stopping America from going and wiping people out?
Sort of like that, yeah.
As an extreme version of it, like, what stops them? Well, laws. People vote on it. You can't just go to war for no reason. I'm looking back at America and I'm thinking Bush, but they made a reason up to convince people, but you still have to convince people. That still has to be there.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm crossing streams a bit, jumping in time there. I'm saying before those laws and that social order is established, how do you establish social order, like, between tribes? I don't see that something to enforce the ethical dealings with one another. I can see it on a smaller scale. I just don't see how it scales up bigger. I mean, I see it. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm saying
can you do it yourself? Have you got love and affection and empathy and believe that everyone in the world deserves equal rights regardless of colour of skin, sex or gender or anything like that? Everybody deserves human rights.
Yes.
Right. Well, then just take that feeling that you've got and give it out to everyone, and you just hope that everyone else feels the same. If you're capable of feeling it, I know that you think that you fit. Well, sorry, that was rude of me. I know that you get your feeling of that from Christianity.
I think I found the foundation of that.
The foundation of that from Christianity. People like myself, I was a Christian up until about 10 or 11 as well. Man was big into it and all that there. But my morals come now not from judgment of other people, but from what I feel is right. And what I would like to be done upon me. I know that's a frickin' Bible quote, but do unto others what you have them do unto you. But that they're just words on a page that were written by man. He's trying to find a way to describe his actions more though than a reason for his actions, if you understand where I'm coming from.
I understand what you're saying, yeah. Whenever I read the Bible for myself, finally. Now, also, whenever we did go to church as a kid, it was very sporadic, and we never did any prayer or study at home and all that stuff. I mean, it was just it was something you did. It was part of the culture. And the general social culture, but we didn't really stick with it at all. But whenever I finally read the Bible, which I hadn't really done, I just assumed a lot of things. Honestly, I figured out.
Yeah, you get told an awful lot. Yeah, you pick and choose the verses, and you know Genesis and the story of the flood and all the ones with the pictures that were told as kids. Yeah.
Yeah, but I hadn't never actually sat down and opened a Bible for myself. I think probably don't want to admit this so much, but I probably opened a Bible one time to start a fire.
Man, I could guarantee you, if I put a shout out to the fucking live chat, there's someone in the live chat that has used the Bible to roll a joint. All right, I guarantee you.
Yeah,
they make good papers.
I know. I've known people who've done that. You know,
but
like when I graduated
you feel bad about
high
that.
school.
But you would feel bad about that because of that action that you've done. Would you see that as Would you see that as morally wrong? Would you see that as a sin? How do you just feel guilty for doing it because of the words of Scripture, or without sounding like a sarky bastard? Like,
well, I feel not like it's a mortal sin or anything. I feel worst about having never taken it serious before dismissing it. And you know, I have reverence for that book. Well, in
that me? Is that him? Have we lost Ron?
we still there?
Oh, you're back now, Ron. Yeah, that's you back.
Okay. You know, but no, I don't think if someone burns the Bible, they're burning the holy word of God. I mean, just like, you know, I don't think
It's
so.
sort of a respect thing.
Yeah, I respect the Bible, and you know, I say I shouldn't admit this because there are Christians who would, but I think more I'm worried about admitting that as a joke, but as I didn't. As now I do respect the Bible, you know, it's just a general thing. I don't think it's like a mortal sin or anything.
No. Sorry, I maybe jumped to something that was meant as a joke. I apologize. I said I'm not sure. Yeah. We're only getting to know each other, Ron. You know, so inflections and things like that.
That's fine. I just want to make certain because I know there are people out there.
Right. Will you describe yourself now as a Christian? Right. Well, we'll try and. I personally, everybody knows I fucking hate labels. All right. Don't like labels. Rather talk to the person. But we're going to throw some labels right now. You said you're a Christian.
Well, they're useful as far as they go. You just
yeah. Would you have a denomination? Would you have a preference? Are you non-denominational? Are you a Christian? Are you a Baptist? Are you Pentecostal?
Well, in general, I'm a charismatic Pentecostal, and I'm a member of the Four Square Church is what I'm a member of. That's the denomination, I guess.
What do you mean by charismatic Pentecostal?
A charismatic is a descriptor. It's not you can have a charismatic Roman Catholic, or you can have a charismatic. Yeah, you're just
talking charismatic as in the personality, or you're talking it's just the way that you use that descriptor as a word of your Christian. You know, it's defining.
I mean it,
that the Christianity would be charismatic.
Obviously, I'm charismatic, but no, not really. As a label, charismatic means that you still think that God's still active and present, and the gifts of the Spirit are still active and present.
You would be speaking in tongues, faith healing, things like that?
Sort of things, yeah.
Have you experienced that yourself? And I don't mean watched it. I'm talking about, have you been sick and someone's healed you, or have you been up and felt the spirits and the voices, the words? I'm not too sure. I don't want to come across as being rude. I'm genuinely interested. Like,
yeah, some, not a great deal.
I feel like I'm pushing something, but we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. Or
no, it's good. No, it's good. I mean, I personally haven't witnessed any great miracles. I think I've seen people get minor healings. You know, I've seen I believe that I prayed over my brother one time and it healed his back, but I haven't seen any major
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And,
I'm not thinking that you went to church one Sunday and an amputee grew his fucking arm back or something like that. You know,
No.
with the speaking in tongues, I'm asking: have you been there? Have you witnessed? Have you actually been through that? What is it? Held by the Spirit or touched by the Spirit or whatever it is. Have you experienced that yourself? Or, if you said to me you prayed over someone and they had the cold or they scraped their knee, then I can just be like, But I'm just trying to gauge what sort of level of. I'm not going to have a problem. I'm going to use the word evidence. There's a reason you've experienced your personal experiences that has led you to these belief systems, that has led you to believe that these are true. These things, I guarantee you, have happened, and that's why you say they're true. So I'm just trying to gauge, the level. As I say, if somebody grew a fucking arm back, you'd be like, holy shit, man, can I come to this church? I'd like to check this shit out. Or if it's someone healed their scraped knee, it's meh. The speaking in tongues, I'm a little wary of myself, but I'm just trying to gauge where your level is at.
So, like, my why for being charismatic is not that I've witnessed a bunch of or many miracles. It's from my experience, my personal experience with God. I feel that I've experienced Him personally in my life to such a degree that I believe that He's still active and present, and I do pray in tongues, and I witness others do it, but that's not a foundational thing to me. I'm charismatic because I believe that God's still active. That He's
so saying charismatic Pentecostal means that you've had a personal experience where you've experienced God, so you believe that God is still present on the earth and can still interact and change, manipulate, whatever. He can interact with human beings, and as I say, with the faith healing and the speaking in tongues and stuff like that. So the charismatic Pentecostal just is saying that these things are possible because you think that God is still about, omnipresent.
That's, and I know people who have had more experiences, but for me, I'm charismatic and Pentecostal. Charismatic Pentecostal in principle and belief. The
guy I work directly with is the same as yourself, man. He faith healing, believes in Jesus. That all very, very similar. You are aligning, very, very similar to where he would be coming from now.
Yeah. I'm not. I mean, we can talk about it, but I've not witnessed a whole lot as far as I don't have a lot of miracle stories or anything. Other than change. Other than changed lives, I mean, I've seen changed lives. I think that's an incredible miracle.
Someone's life being changed.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you see, that's one thing that I noticed. Not that I noticed. One thing I heard you say when you were talking, not your stream you did today, but the one before that, was you were talking with the other guy. I can't remember his flipping name for can't remember his name. But anyway, whoever he was a Christian as well. You were discussing back and forth. And it's one thing that I think you said and he giggled on, and I'm paraphrasing, right? I'm not doing a direct quote, so if I'm slightly off, I apologize. Yeah. But you said something along the lines that if without Christianity, people will fill that hole with other things, and then you used negative examples.
Yeah.
I would agree with you that Christianity can fill a hole in some people's lives, and I can agree that people coming, the reason that you would have used negative examples and mentioning this miracle that you said about people's lives changing is because there's such a fundamental change. Say for talk's sake, they're an alcoholic, they then stop drinking and life changes and go to work and better money and everything's grand for them, their health's better, and they thank Jesus and the community and the church and all the rest of it. And as you say, that's a miracle. But this is the reason that you're using negative examples, is because these people have been through what we could refer to as trauma. Have been through something bad in their life, and they're looking for something to fill that hole. I try and fill the hole in my life with as much time and joy as I can with my daughter. Everybody has their bad days and things like that, but it's what you choose. Well, not choose is a bad word. Your circumstances can influence it as well, but the direction you go and what you use to fill that core of your life. Like the church is a community, so it's not just the church that's saving them. It's having people that also aren't drinkers, because all their friends used to be drinkers, and now they've got church wives to go knitting with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course, I was talking to another Christian, so there's a lot of different assumptions. I want to make a point about me using negative examples there. One of the reasons I would do that is because a lot of the ministry that I'm involved in are those types of people. It's usually people who are lost and addicted or hopeless. Those are a lot of the people that I interact with in ministry. It's not to say that it can only be filled with negative, is what I want to point out. I'm not. You can put positive things in there. And it's really the concept of your highest ideal, right? What is your highest? What's your focus of ideal? And I think that you can put something there that's not necessarily negative, and it can guide you, and I think there's something to be said as the concept of God as your highest ideal, right? As a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you say, you've had an awful lot of interactions with people like that. So again, it's around your own area. So statistically, it's all biased as hell. Like, but it's still something that you need. It's that hole that you need to fill. It's that goal in your life. Lonely people, sad people, lost a wife people. There was a church where I used to work in Ballynahinch, and by pure circumstance, they ended up with a church where they shouldn't really have had one. There was a rule they're not really supposed to have churches in main streets, and it was a Pentecostal church as well. Then they put a chair outside. They put chairs up and down the street, new chairs, for old people and all. It's a very old, there's like 14 old folks fucking homes in this place, man. It's a real out in the country sort of place. But you have a lot of old folks walking around and put these seats in so they could sit down. There's one right outside the church. And as nice as it is to bring a woman out a cup of tea, right? And give it to them when they're tired, or look after them and sit and chat with them or whatever. You don't need to drag them into the church. A lot of people around here, especially the older people, would be Christian and would be religious anyway. This I had a slight problem with, and then about a few weeks later they start handing out leaflets. We're having a movie night on Friday, and it's who's Banana Man? Can't remember Banana Man's name. The chat will help me out here. Ray Comfort.
What's his name? Ray Comfort.
Right. Ray Comfort has a video called Exit, and it's about suicide, and it boils down to don't go asking for help, come to the church, God will save you. They even stole videos off fucking YouTube of a wee girl who did actually kill herself and used it in their video. It was propaganda, absolute disasterness, and this is the extension of what I see from it. It's taking advantage of people who have sadness in their life and filling that hole and giving them a gap, giving them a hole. These same people convinced a woman not to go get fucking cancer treatment. She died and left them money, so they bought a new bus so they could go pick up new people. I really did not like this church. Really did not like this church.
Absolutely not. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, I'm not laughing. That is horrible.
Yeah.
That's awful. I mean, I would never talk anyone out of going to
yeah, I'm not making a correlation. I'm just saying that
I know.
It's having a need to find your hole filled without any sexual connotation from the fucking chat. It's finding a need, a purpose. So we can use the phrase purpose. Finding a purpose in life is difficult sometimes, especially when you're alone, especially when you've had trauma. And with the culture that we have in the West, there's always that small lingering, unless you're an out and open atheist like a lot of people here in the chat and stuff. And we have Christians in the chat as well. Spartans here and Holy Speckles here, both are, I would refer to as Christian. And to find that need, especially it's easy to blame God, so to speak. And it's easy to fall back on God to find help, and what comes with falling into the whole God helped me is that you blame yourself. There's an awful lot of guilt that comes with that. I'm all up for responsibility. You fuck up, take responsibility for it. But there's an awful 100%. Lot of, you've been bad, you deserve this. There's an awful lot of baggage that comes with morality that comes from the Christian church. That foundation.
There is.
There's a shitload of baggage.
There has been. Yeah, there certainly has been. That isn't my approach.
I'm just discussing, man. Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, I know, and I accept that, and I'm not saying that you're putting it on me.
Okay, as long as we have that.
I'm acknowledging your point because it's correct. There's been a lot of that. You know, there's not to dismiss anything, but there's bad actors in any movement, and there's been plenty of bad actors within the Christian movement. And I would say that a lot of them have missed the mark widely. One of the interesting things about it, though, is I think whenever we're talking about an ideology or a religion, I think we have to be careful what we put on it, the ideology or the religion, what we make it guilty of versus what's universal human traits.
Yeah, well, there's something that I've become a phrase that I've become aware of within America, especially in the South and things like that, where there is so many churches. Not to say that I encourage mega churches, but the fact that there's so many churches, everybody has their own different niches. You move to a new city or a new town or a wee backwater place, you can go church shopping. So you're not actually looking for a church. You're looking for a group of people who agree with your values.
A lot of that, yeah.
No, so I'm agreeing back with what you're saying. Like, it's what people put upon it. Like, you can go, my entire city of 1 million people was all this, and then you've moved to Arizona or wherever you're going to, and it's all different types of churches, and there's only 2 that agree with you. So you have to go shopping to find the same group of people who have applied that same sort of thing onto religion.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people who jump from church to church because they're just looking for people to agree with them.
What made you decide upon your church then, if I can ask? Is it next door and it's handy?
That is part of it. But it's less than 5 miles away. But so I first went to church. I went to this church because it was close. And I started going to church before I believed, because I was seeking a community, right? And not only for myself, but for my family.
Did you move there, or was it just seeing as you were going through the existential crisis, you were changing groups of friends, or you were you had none, looking for some, or what made you look to a church for a community that you hadn't had before?
Well, we didn't really, especially my wife and I didn't have any community around us. We didn't have a great deal of friends local, and I actually felt like it was a good thing to take the kids to at least become aware of the basic stories of Noah and the flood and Genesis and stuff.
Culturally, or
I still don't.
This was while you were a Christian. This was after you became a Christian. Yes.
No. This was before.
So before. So even when you would have been, we'll just say not a Christian, would you still have had some sort of beliefs like pantheism, deism, or something like that?
Yeah.
So I know that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
At that time, I'm like on the bubble. But right before I come to that place where I started going to the church, I would have said I was a Norse pagan.
I remember you saying that. On the stream. Yes, you were Norse pagan, so there was still something there. Yes, I remember you mentioning.
Yes. Well, I took a long journey, I would say. I grew up, like you've said, in the south of the U.S., where there's a lot of churches. There's a church on every corner, right? And I had a cultural experience with Christians and what I thought was Christians. A lot of hypocrites who were Christians, right?
Oh, we can agree with that.
I met a lot of I met a lot of people who would go to church on Sunday and praise God and everything, and then on Monday they wouldn't even recognize you, or other 6 days of the week they were assholes, And it's like, but on Sunday it's all handshakes and
yeah, Sunday you're at churches all go together, but
and
then
brothers.
there's classifications, you know, they could be better off, they could hang out with different people, you know, they could be like, oh, he works in cars, or he likes rallying and I like horses, you know, I don't like that, you know. But on Sundays you all get together, so as you say, hypocritical.
Yeah, and so I had that ideal of who Christians were, you know, I had that exposure. There's a lot of bad witness. I mean, that's 100% true. So I was an atheist, like when I was 19 or so. Whenever I went to the military, I wanted you to know I was an atheist, and I wanted to
atheistic towards the Christian God.
It's particularly, I was an atheist, but I was militant against the Christian.
Oh no! Well, that happens a lot of us. You know, you get pissed off with all the lies and shit like that's happened. So when you come out, you usually, you know, I personally went through the anti-theist stage as well. When I come out, you know, I would have went out of my way when I'm drinking, if I hear someone mention God, to go over and sit beside them and poke fun at them. You know, I mean, not poke fun at them, but have these discussions with them. You know, and the whole go to heaven, no free will, and all this shit. Like, so it does happen. I understand that, but there's still what I mean is, whenever you describe yourself as an atheist, right, when you got to the point of describing yourself as an atheist when you went to the military, was it atheistic towards, like I would describe myself as atheistic towards the Christian God and agnostic to an awful lot of others. You know, I was
atheistic towards all gods.
Right.
And I was anti-theist towards the Christian God. Right. I particularly did not like Christianity, and I wanted to provoke Christians, and I thought they were stupid and believed in a fairy tale, and I thought it was funny to provoke them because it could be easily done, and I could wear a t-shirt and they could clutch their pearls, you know. And I was very much a materialist, and very interested in studying. And I still am science and all that, but I didn't have any belief in gods or supernatural. I thought we were here and this is what we've got and let's work it out. But and you know, on the main, I still think we should be here and work it out. You know, that doesn't change. Every
stream I've watched of you now, as I say, it's only been one, including this one, and two others that I've watched. You have mentioned being a human secular and these sort of ideas and being up for the human race as a human race. So regardless of what your belief system is, you know, you've got a 90% rating for mentioning that you're a humanist and everybody is equal. So it's a good rating so far. So that's definitely going on.
Yeah. And so I did that for a while, and then I was just a regular atheist, I would say. I wasn't an anti-theist. I wasn't an activist. I was just, I don't care what you believe. I don't believe. Yeah. And then, you know, I started having some personal spiritual experiences that I interpreted as that. And so I thought, maybe I'm agnostic.
Sorry just to interrupt, but when you're having these experiences, at this stage you're now considering yourself an atheist, or are you Norse pagan at this stage? Was it these spiritual experiences that lent you towards the Norse paganism, or were you already there when you experienced it? Oh, it was then. Right, that's it. Just trying to get a timeline. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Well, at that point, I'm agnostic, right? I'm like, well, maybe there is something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And maybe I can't know, right? But I'm not, it's not off the table. Right, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I have these experiences,
possibilities and probabilities. Yeah.
Yes, and then I would move into a Norse pagan, and I felt like I had definitive spiritual experiences that were related to that, that supported that belief, and then later I go into Christianity. I make the joke that I'm just like the original Norse pagans. I went ahead and got baptized.
You were going to church as a Norse pagan. The reason that you were mainly going to church was community and having the kids to know the basics of the story of the Bible. As a Norse pagan, If I pray too much, do slap me and tell me shut the fuck up. Your wife at the time, with the kids and stuff, was your wife a Christian? Was your wife atheist? Was your wife a Norse pagan like yourself?
She would be a more of a Wiccan type pagan.
Yeah. No. I just ask because family decisions usually take, it's mummy and daddy make the decision. So she's a Wiccan and you're Norse pagan.
Yeah.
Two then real questions. Why didn't you go into the forest late at night and go looking for other witches? Would have been a lot more fun, man. Leave the kids at home, all right? Bring oil. And secondly, having them belief systems, why did you feel the need that the kids for the need for the kids to know the cultural stories of that from the church? Because these stories like Noah and all that sort of stuff, they're movies, they're books, they're on TV, they make jokes about it in Sesame Street probably, they're going to pick it up culturally anyway. Along with the community thing and having friends and stuff.
You would think so, but that was something that kind of struck me is, they you could say Noah and they wouldn't know him from Adam, so to speak. They didn't have.
I would say that's a great thing. Like my wee girl at the minute, right? Her grandfather recently passed away within this last year, and she was old enough to recognise, that he was dying. Because when he went to the hospital and stuff, I said, Grand is sick, he might not come back, that things happen. And she was like, no, he's not coming back. Grand is going to the hospital to die. She was very aware that he was sick and he was going to die. And she's very comfortable, I would say, around death. She's had 2 big sort of deaths in her life so far at such a young age. But I would talk to her about I've lost him. He's paused. I'm talking to nobody. Oh, he's back. He's just
no, you're good. I was listening. I was looking at the chat.
So she's very good.
I was listening.
She's very good with accepting that sort of thing, to the point I think it was last month. She had 2 dolls and she put one doll in the corner of my mum's when we were at our granny's. And she ran off, and Mum goes, you forgot your other doll. And she goes, no, that doll's dead. I'm playing with this one now. And just ran off, just as if it was a normal thing. She's very comfortable around that. But the reason I'm rambling on about my daughter as usual is her mother is a believer. Her mother is a Catholic. Her mother mentioned heaven. All right, now they haven't mentioned hell yet. And some fucker at school mentioned ghosts. So there was a period where she was afraid of ghosts, right? We've overcome that fear and she doesn't need a light in her room and anything anymore. But she's picking it up culturally without being taken to school. I made a point that she had to go to a mixed secular school and not a Catholic, Christian school.
Okay.
I'm making the effort to keep her away from it, but she's still, I wouldn't say being dragged into it. The fucker that mentions hell to her and puts the idea of hell in her mind, I will send him to fucking hell. All right? Because nobody at a young age should be able to, having to think about that sort of things, She gets upset if she spills milk in the living room because she doesn't want to upset me or her mother. I want her worrying that instead of getting maybe shouted at or made clean up her mess, she's going to burn for eternity. That's not something I want her to be thinking about,
I just realized there's something missing there from my story is at this point, I'm not a Christian, but I'm accepting the idea that Western society has a Christian values-based idea. That's where I've come to.
Now, why would you throw that? Well, I'm not going to jump on it and say American's Christian-based because it's not, right? I know you said Western society. Western society. I would say that if you look at the history of it and things like that, man, yes, the church had all the money, so the church can afford to build all these buildings that educate people. That, the church owns an awful lot of land and has an awful lot of power, so the church is available to do these things. I would say that to a certain extent the church did help build the education system in America and a few other things in Western society, where it was not down to the fact that it was right, but the fact that it was in control.
I think you have more to prove on that claim.
Church was in power. The church had a hell of a lot more power than it did back now. Look at the big schools in America, as I'm using for an example. A lot of the big schools in America were originally, funded by the
Well,
church because they had all the money. Like.
Well, it wasn't just that.
Not just that, but I'm just.
But
Go ahead.
okay, so
no, we're talking over each other. I'll shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Well, it's like I've always loved history and I've always read history, but I felt like I realized that I always read history with a bias. I was always biased against the church, against Christianity, and I felt like if I re-examined it without as much bias, that I could see some important. One of the things I think
Did you feel
where
guilt?
we're at with.
Was it guilt? Sorry, just to interrupt now. I'm going to be quiet now. I'll not ruin your trail of thought again. But was it? I'm getting from you a sense of guilt that you felt that you've done wrong against it.
Well, I felt not guilt as in moral guilt. I felt guilt as in I took an ideal and threw it out without giving it its fair shake.
That's a brilliant description. I like that description. Everything needs to be examined and looked at. Right. Shutting the fuck up now and muting so I can't even interrupt. Go on ahead.
Well, and that's as far as guilt, any sort of guilt, is that I took this ideal and I threw it out without giving it its own voice, like giving it its chance to speak for itself. It's sort of like Tom Holland's Dominion book. I came to kind of the same conclusions that Tom Holland has in that book. I felt like
I don't know the book.
There's a particular. You're still muted, by the way. There's a particular influence of Christianity in our Western culture, and I'm not saying that it just came from, but I think it comes from largely Greek and Roman through its interaction with Christianity. And so I kind of come to the same conclusion as Tom Holland in Dominion. This was before his book, but that's why I felt like it was important. It was important for them to be introduced to the ideals of at church.
Okay.
Kids.
You came to the same conclusion as Tom Holland, and that's the reason you think you need to send the kids to church. I haven't read the book, so I don't know the conclusion. So could you explain it for me?
Yeah. Well, his conclusions are that.
Is this author a Christian?
No.
Okay.
His conclusion is that he writes historical books. So you can't say he's a historian because he doesn't have PhDs and stuff, but he wrote historical books, and he started to see how foreign the value system of like the Romans was to his current value system. He was always real big in the Romans. He was like, yeah, Romans, and then he started
and saying that like they were a few centuries ago in a completely different culture with different technology, different education system. So the fact that society would have different values to us, I would just have that as a given.
Yeah, but particularly is the brutality that shocked him in particular. It's they had a sense of the citizen, but if you weren't the citizen, then you weren't necessarily human. I mean, you essentially weren't human.
America had that with slaves.
Well, yeah.
That's quite recent. That's what, 4 generations, 5 generations ago.
Yeah.
That's so the value system about brutality, and you can be one, and then there's another one that's the other. I could make a direct correlation with Western society within 4 generations, 5 generations.
But I'm not going to do his book justice. Well, in slavery, right? One of the problems I think we face right now, Christians face, is we're so familiar with it that all that's really left to see are the negatives. Right. The only thing that we typically will see is the negatives. if it's, we are so, I think our society has been saturated in Christianity to the point that any of the positives are assumed and all the negatives are what we see.
If I can, I would say yes, that Western society has been saturated in Christianity. I would also say that a lot of people, would be leaving and stuff because what you're saying is you're seeing more of the negatives, right? They're seeing more of the negatives because the positives, the negatives can't be hidden anymore. The negatives were always there. Depending on what culture and what time they pick and choose, Christianity has been used to, justify some fucked up atrocities in this world. And it's always been a different verse, or this verse, or that verse. Yeah, but I'm finding trouble with the idea that Christianity is everywhere. I will agree with it. But the fact that society has moved on now, technology is more aware. As an education system, the church is not in control of the education and stuff now. So it's not that the negatives are the only thing that's left. It's the negatives are coming to light because they can't defend themselves anymore. Like, you could go to school for 100 years and be taught that creationism was real. Now we know it's not. Now you can't do that. So, the church has lost power. Now, I know that's a silly thing. I think it's silly. I don't know if you're a young earth creationist, if you believe in...
No.
Good. But, these are the things that have changed, as I said again, with church having control of the schools. Sorry, go on ahead. I need a mute.
Yeah.
I need to learn to
Well, I don't want to overstate my case, okay? I'm not trying to overstate. I'm just saying that it's there, that you can see it. It's that there are positive influences from the Christian ideals upon our society. Mm-hmm. And before, particularly, I absolutely didn't want to see it or wouldn't acknowledge it. And as far as the kids going to church and me starting at church, at no point did I take them there and say, this is what you're going to believe, you must believe it. I just took them to the experience.
You would not, I know, I definitely understand from your approach that you would not have done that, but you do understand that whenever a child is that young, and there's a guy up the front, and he's going, blah, 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 and he's saying this happened, the kid believes that it happens because the kid trusts you, and you've put your faith in the minister, the pastor, the priest, whatever it is, and the child then says, well, daddy trusts him, so I trust him. So to a point, don't need to say you have to believe these, but the kid will.
Well, and
depending
we've
on
had
age.
Those. Yeah, well, they were probably, the youngest was probably 6 at the time.
Oh, that's a little young, but they've definitely got their own fucking brain. Yeah, they're not as susceptible as 1 to 5.
I tell you what, some of the hardest questioning I've gotten about God was from her.
Hey, kids are so mature. Don't even get me fucking started. Right, well, we've got about 10-15 minutes left. Is there anybody in the chat that would be interested in an after party, except for Sergeant Sam, because he's always fucking down for an after party? I know what he's like. So if anyone, just tag me and let me know, and we'll see what the crack is. We might have one, we might not have one. But Ron, go on ahead.
But I felt like they needed to be introduced to it. Well, that's my story, I guess. I don't think that I can find the solid, inviolable foundation for my humanism outside of the Christian ideal is what I found. And since I've been a Christian, it has absolutely enhanced and turned my humanism up to 11.
Right. Well, that might be something we will talk about in the after party on how to do it if that happens. But we have about 10-15 minutes left, so what I'm going to do, Ron, is I'm going to hand it over to you. If you have any questions or anything that you would like to ask me.
But I wanted to finish one thought.
Go on ahead.
It was the community that helped convince me as I was going to church. But I had started reading the Bible for myself.
Yep.
And when I approached the Bible, I wanted to try and let it speak for itself. I tried to take as much of my bias as I could and toss it out the window. Obviously, you can't do that 100%. No one can, but we can try. And And there's a lot of things there that didn't make sense. So I started searching other teachings and such, seeing if it would make sense. I approached it with the assumption that there's something that should make sense here. So maybe
you did approach it with an assumption. You approached it with the assumption that there should be something in the Bible to explain it.
Yeah. And there's other influences that got me to take the Bible seriously, right? But and you know, this book has been taken seriously by many people for many years, obviously.
Yeah.
And maybe I needed to take it serious myself, and symbolism helped a lot. I'm real big into symbolism, a symbolic meaning of things. And what I found in the Old Testament was a pattern that showed a pattern of human behavior that I was already familiar with studying history.
Yeah,
and
numerology is fun for me. Now, I understand numerology to the point where, you know, I don't put an awful lot of faith in it. But, like,
yeah.
and strangely enough, again, Western society and having this drummed in is 17. You know, these numbers are very, very prominent in my life as I've went through. Like, you know, 7 being prominent in the Bible. Like, you know, but it's the...
Yeah.
I don't know. I see it as fun and patterns and possibilities. We are a species that sees patterns everywhere, man. You know, and the universe being what it is, saying that something has a 1 in 5 billion chance of happening doesn't mean that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just a 1 in 5 billion probability.
But yeah, like,
and it's like, and I've always been fascinated by that math seems to explain, and math is patterned. And then you got music, which is basically math, and then music appeals to us and hits us in a way that we can't entirely explain.
Mm-hmm.
And I love music, and I think that's an incredible thing. I mean, I don't know why the mathematics should explain reality necessarily, but it does.
The reason I was a wee bit late coming in is because I was watching the new video from the Royal Institution, Topology of Physics, and one of the quotes, I think it was Galileo, is mathematics is the language that God wrote the universe in. That's a quote he used from Galileo. You know, not to say that I believe in God or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it is, maths describes everything, you know, but that's different than our recognition of patterns and pareidolia, I think it is. But so I'll let you finish up, and then if you have any questions you would like to ask.
Anyways, well, I've got my channel. I started Reverend Ron's Revelation Room. You can, I'm Ronald D. Potts 1 on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter, and there's a link to it. And I want to have conversations, and I don't want to have conversations just in my bubble. I want to have conversations. I often say beliefs and non-beliefs even, but I'm not meaning just religion. I'm thinking everything. And I just want to have dialogue, because if we can't dialogue with each other, what's the next step? Then it's, you know, going to war.
You see, this is something that bounces back, and we can say we've went full circle. You can't see how somebody in their own tribe, and how you can extend that humanism without a moral foundation from God to everyone else. Well, you're here doing it right now, man. You're breaking out of your bubble. You're coming here and having the conversation, and you're doing it. I'm also doing it, and we have different belief systems, you know. But the possibility exists. If we're talking probabilities and possibilities, you know, it's definitely possible that there is nothing. And it's definitely possible that the confidence that you're getting from the community and the people around you is definitely helping you do what you're doing. You should have confidence in yourself and belief in yourself. You know, I'm a firm believer. What annoys me the most is when I see Christians that have been through hardship, and they sit there and they tell me a story of how absolutely awful their life was. Now, maybe not you or whatever, but, you know, lost a child, alcoholism, drugs, all the rest of it, living on the street. They've had all these hardships in their life, and they've found Jesus, and now they're brilliant. And what annoys me the most is that person did it. You know, the way I look at it is, it's that person that should be proud of what they are, and proud of what they've done and what they've achieved. you know, and how they've busted their fucking ass to get where they are. And they give all that credit to Jesus, to God, to this person. Yeah. And they should be more aware of what they've done, you know.
Well, I would never take that away from a person. I think there's a lot of missing the mark with a lot of Christian stuff, but from Christians, I think Jesus's PR team is pretty poorly equipped for some reason.
Yeah, you see, what happened was they got really used to the sword, and now the swords aren't allowed. So they're like, shit, we put all our eggs in this basket, and now, all right, I'm poking fun.
Well, there's some truth to that. I mean, yeah, but
it was his obsession with foreskins. I don't know. I can't get over his obsession with foreskins. I don't know what it is. But yes,
there's some of it's still mystery.
Yep.
That was a joke.
Yeah. As I say, Ron's links, descriptions, links and Twitter and all that crack is in the description.
You know,
definitely
you found me because I appealed to non-Christians, and I have to do that particularly because it's easy to find people in your own circle, right?
It's a lot more fun to surround yourself with people who disagree with you, because echo chambers are fucking boring. That's just
yeah, and I'm secure in my beliefs. I mean, I'm not not trying to foist them on anyone.
Give me 6 months.
Well, we could try it. But
no. But, that's the thing, man. I have no desire whatsoever, because if you became the same fucking thinker as me, I'd stop talking to you. I have no reason to talk to you anymore. You know, it's like looking in a mirror. Why would I? No, and again, it helps
exactly.
As well. I hope to maybe come on your channel, meet a few of there's some Christians on your channel that I've never met before. The circles that we've got for over here has, you know, a lot of them have become very trollish and very polarized. You know, that tribe mentality is kicking back in, and the Christians, it's very hard to find genuine good interlocutors. I've had a good conversation tonight. I feel you've been very, very honest. I've seen some nervousness in your answers and stuff like that, so that always is a sign that you're being honest. You know, you're not screaming your answer at me. You're not coming across with a fucking script and repeating yourself. You know, there's a wee bit of hesitation and things like that, and that's honesty, and I really appreciate that. You know, I want the truth. I want to get to know you, have you coming back. We've got other panels and things that we do and stuff like that, so always having different opinions in is definitely worthwhile. I have a Wiccan lady coming on the actual 12th, which is a Saturday night. Same time as tonight, but on a Saturday. It's in a few weeks, on the 12th, as I say. If you're up for that after party, that open panel, I'm hoping to try and set up, you know, a couple of Christians, a couple of atheists, and then ourselves as a Wiccan, so it's an open panel and it's as even and fair as possible. It's going to be our first time online as well, so I'm trying to be as nice. So if you're free on the 12th, man, definitely give me a shout back, and, you know, we'll keep in contact. And I had a good fun tonight, and if we can see what the crack is, might have an after party tonight. Not, we'll see what time Ron has available. And Ron, I will give you one last word, and then I will finish up. And
okay. So if you want to check my channel or come on my channel, I'm not after experts. I'm no expert myself, so I have no credentials. I have no expertise necessarily. So I'm not trying to be that channel. I'm doing something different. I want people to talk, and if you whatever you believe, come on and let's have a conversation, and we can let our ideals interact, or we can just communicate with one another. And that's the point of my channel. I often say, to a degree, my modest goal is to be like a Joe Rogan who happens to be Christian.
Oh, I don't know if you ended well there, man. I don't know if you ended well at all. Like, I you know, seeing as we're going down that road, I seen you talking about fucking, what do you call that boy Peterson earlier as well, and I was like, I'm not even going to mention Peterson. I'm just going to let that slide.
I was avoiding him.
I'm just going to let that slide.
I know. I've found your opinion on Peter, so I was going to avoid that.
You jumped in with the Joe Rogan. So on that wonderful note of our future Joe Rogan Christian.
See, I'm a Christian who happens to have a channel. I'm not a Christian channel.
Good man. Good man. And as I say, I will post the what do you call it here in the live chat if anyone's up for it. We'll hang about for 10-15 minutes or so. And Sammy, look, Sammy just rounded up. I was with him till he said Joe Rogan. That's it. So, as I always say here before, thanks to the chat for watching. Thanks to everyone who contributes. And yeah, don't forget, people, everybody, think for yourselves. Links there. If you just want to jump in. We'll hang around for 10-15 minutes, see what the crack is. So on that note, but if I can find it. Bye!